200. Can you play music?
Welcome, welcome. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Looks like pound yen is trying to go bullish over here. We broke above a minor resistance at 135, 136. We're coming up towards another resistance at 136.360. I think we need to break above these highs here for price to continue moving bullish up to 136.500. I think that's going to be a pretty good move, going up towards 136.500.
Where's he running from?
I had a buy from down over here, from down at 135.900. I closed in the morning when I woke up, and now I closed right before this candle moved down. So now I'm thinking that maybe if this current candle can break the high of the previous candle, maybe we could get a clean move going up to 136.500. That something may happen. Because this was a support, right? Candle went up, this candle went bearish, so we formed resistance. From here, this candle went bullish, so we formed support. So I think once we break the high of the previous candle, I may want to take a trade. This will be an impulse entry for price to continue moving bullish. Yeah, I think that could be a pretty good trade. So I'm going to wait for that. Yeah, I'm going to wait for price to break the high at, let's say, 136.380. Stop is going to be below the low of this current candle, which is going to be around, I hope it's like around 8, 9, 10 pips, like somewhere over here. And then we can continue on towards, 136.500 and 520. So I'm just going to wait over here around 136.380. Let's take a look at gold. Gold is also trying to continue moving bullish. We're approaching the 1970s area over here. Let's take a look on the 4-hour. 4 hours also trying to move bullish. We have a very, very bullish structure on gold here. Extremely bullish structure on gold. Like we have a resistance at 1968 right here. Need to come above this area here. Let's take a look at Forex Factory. Forex Factory. Forexfactory.com. We have no news. We have Empire State Manufacturing Index, and I mean that's about it. We have very, very low volume news here today, so it's going to be a pretty easy day. Shouldn't I mean, apart from any surprise announcements, I think it should be a clean day here today. Let's take a look at this chart. Someone took an L. This is GJ 30-minute chart. You got stopped out over there. Entered at the break of the previous candle's low. Gia JC, whatever the name is, however you pronounce your name, price was ranging over here. Price was ranging. You see these candles coming down, pulling back, coming down, pulling back. This is something we discussed on Saturday about the impulse entries. That's what we discussed. Impulse entries, when you're taking impulse entries, when you're fighting the trend, they usually don't work, so you were trying to fight the trend over here. Trend was bullish, you've taken impulse entry. I mean, this is exact scenario we discussed on Saturday. So you need to watch that webinar to kind of like understand this area right over here, because this was not a good entry here. Are you not afraid of the previous few wicks for the impulse entry? You know what? I'm not concerned because the trend is bullish and we've been ranging since London Open. Look, we've been ranging, right, since London Open. There has been no volume here. Price hasn't really broken out. So I think the next moment price is going to break out is probably going to be in pre-New York, right? Because we have volume in pre-New York. So we're anticipating the volume in pre-New York to continue price bullish, if we do go there. If price ranges in pre-New York and we take a loss, well, if I take a loss, then that's fine because, then we can give it a second shot for volume to come in New York open. So I'm going to keep an eye on this. 136.380, 136.375 is where I'm going to be looking to enter. Buy stop was triggered at 139.340, 139.400, anticipating for price to go up. Stop loss is set at the low. Yeah, see, when the buy stop got activated, your buy stop got activated when the candle didn't really break any highs. It was just within the range. So that's where your buy stop got activated. So buy stop got activated at a wrong price. I mean, the spread basically activated your buy stop. Because if you look at this candle here, this candle had a small body, didn't really have much of a stronger confirmation that price is going to continue moving up. And it's basically your spread activated the buy stop. No trade zone for Mr. Junaid over here. Okay, that's fine. That's perfect. And you're looking for trade above this area, which makes sense there as well. Okay, we're coming up to break the high at 136.360. Should come up towards 136.372. All right, there we go. Activated a buy position at this point, putting the stop loss below the current candle. Anticipating price to come up towards 136.500. Okay, let's take a look at this chart over here. This is GU 1 hour chart. What I want to see is, oh, okay, hold on. This thing is moving up over here now. As it comes up towards 470, 480, that's going to be 10 pips right there. So going to secure positions at around, 136, 480, and then we're going to put my stops at break even. And yeah, we'll let the rest run. So it's a pretty good push coming in pre-New York. Pretty happy with that. Is there a reason why you only trade GJ and not any other pairs? Yes, because if I only trade GJ, then I know for a fact I can get some pretty decent moves on GBJPY. New 1 hour candle, retest the yellow line, take entry on the retest, back up, clean traffic. Yeah, it makes sense. Now, basically, if you're looking on the 1 hour time frame, you're breaking it down on the 30-minute time frame and really trying to see, like, if you can get like a good entry with some sort of stop loss. All right, let's take a look at this chart here. Oh, it's the same chart. Wow, gold has reached that high at that point. If it breaks 136,600, it will be going up towards 136,800. Yeah, that makes sense. We're just gonna wait and see how this forms and if it does reach our target at 136,500 or not. And basically that's gonna be the trade for the day. Let's take a look at this chart over here. This is resistance formed in the 1 hour time frame, 30-minute resistance at this point, sells below here. What about buys? Oh, you're looking for buys above this area right over here. See, I was looking at buys above this area here, but then I looked at the range. I was like, well, if I can take an impulse entry at this point and have my TP over here, I have like 14, 15 pip range. So if I have a 15 pip range, I can basically secure 10 pips and leave a runner. And if the runner, continues running, then that's perfect. What's better than a runner that keeps running? Like a runner that doesn't run, right? Let's take a look at this chart over here. We got some nice charts coming on this morning. Nice clean charts coming this morning. Oh, good range, tiny bad range, perfect. You got good range below this area for sells and good range above this area for buys. Makes perfect sense. Now, as price is fluctuating right over here, right? You always got to look to see that, okay, how are you going to manage risk? So if I'm looking at the 15-minute time frame right here, if I'm looking at the 15-minute candle, what I'm looking to see, that, okay, if price does continue going down, how am I going to manage my risk? Oh, let's see, this is 136.900.300. Yeah. So this is the 15-minute candle. Now, I want this 15-minute candle to close bullish. I want this 15-minute candle to close above, let's say 136.380. If it closes below this area right over here, then probably I'm going to be closing 50% of my position. You know, because we want price to continue moving up, but if it comes back into a drawdown after going in profits, I think that's going to be a pretty good idea to maybe manage risk at some point, right? Because if you can't manage risk, then basically you can't win. As price is coming down at this point, I'm closing 50% of my position at this point right over here. I close 50% because if it comes down, so like let's say if I'm in this trade, right, and my risk on this trade is, let's say, $200. That's my risk on this trade, $200, like, let's say. And if price comes back down and hits me at the stop loss and I lose $200, that means I've lost 100% of what I risked, right? But instead of losing 200, if I end up losing, let's say, 140, you know, or 150, so now I've lost a percentage of my total risk. Now essentially I've really reduced my risk, right? So that's what you got to do. You always got to manage risk. You got to reduce risk, and yeah, just make sure you lose less than what you anticipate. Okay, let's look at, let's see. Let's take a look at your JPY here. See if you got your JPY. Euro JPY. Euro JPY is also ranging at this point. We are in a range. Yeah, we're in a range basically. And if we break above this area here, 125,700, I think we have a clean move going up here. But that's only like 13, 14 pips on your JPY. And your JPY is less volatile than gold. Do you have a zero spread trading account? No, there's no such thing as a zero spread trading account. My spread is like it's 1.6, 1.6, 1.8. Bro, kindly tell me, is this a good trade or not? Well, any trade you can manage risk and profit on it, or profit on it, I think that's a very good trade. But on a trade where you cannot manage risk, then that's a very bad trade, you know. So there's no such thing as a winning trade, a good trade, or a losing trade is a bad trade. It's not like that. It's about how you manage your risk within that trade. So in this trade, I've closed 50% already, you know. So even if it hits my stop loss, that's totally fine because now I'm losing less than what I anticipated to lose. That's the goal here every day. But at the same time, I think since this 15-minute candle is coming to a close, 30-minute candle is still open. So probably going to see how this 30-minute candle closes since it broke the high and it shouldn't really break the low over here. So we'll see what happens. I find it very difficult to accept once I cut some percentage on a losing trade and to see the trade hit my TP. I'm not even sure for myself whether I manage my risk well or am I not believing my analysis. How do you find the balance in between? Well, you know, once you're closing a percentage of the trade and it hits your TP, I think that's a good thing. That's a good thing because what I'm assuming is that you're still in the trade as it goes up to hit your take profit. And now what you got to do is now if if price is actually hitting your take profit, then you got to see that, okay, how could you have entered a second position, right? So let's say I closed 50% here, and after closing 50%, price goes up to hit my take profit. And I'm like, oh man, you know what? I should have had enough confidence that price is going to hit my take profit. But at the same time, then I'm going to look at to see that, okay, if price did hit my take profit after I closed 50%, how could I have had a second entry on this trade? You know, that's something you're looking at. So now if you look at the 15-minute candle here, 15-minute candle closed below that resistance. This means price is respecting that resistance, you know. But at the same time, what I'm looking at from technical perspective is that we had bullish momentum. Price formed some sort of a support over here. You know, this candle broke down, and the next candle, instead of doing a retest, it continued back in the range. So if this is a fake out, this next 15-minute candle should respect the low of the previous one and continue moving bullish, and then moving the overall 30-minute candle bullish as well. Are you expecting big moves for Thursday? Yes. We have interest rates on the pound on Thursday, so obviously there's going to be pretty big moves on Thursday. If that's the case, would you add a position? No, I'm not going to add another position. Because if I do add another position, I'm not sure where the stop is going to be. Probably it's going to be below this candle here, but that's adding risk while the 30-minute candle is still open. A better opportunity to add a second position is going to be if this 30-minute candle closes bullish somewhere around the vicinity of 136,400, and then you can look to add another position by having the stop below the 30-minute candle. You know, but at this point, it's just like, we're just going to let it run. Hey, about risk management and keeping your losses small, how about not entering positions with less than 1 to 2 RR and letting it run? What do you think? I think just by looking at a specific 1 to 2 RR or 1 to 3 RR, that's like putting limitations on your trades. You know, that's all what it is. You're just trying to put limitations on your trade. If you're looking for specific 1 to 2 RRs or 1 to 3 risk rewards. I mean, it's not about that. It's about how much you can secure, how much you can like, you know, secure at the end of the day. Like if price is running in profits, are you securing those profits? Are you really putting stops at break even? You know, those things matter a lot. Also having the discipline to stick to like 1 to 2 trades. So see now this 15-minute candle, it's really rejecting that area. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to close another 50% right over here. So I close another 50%. Right? Just close half and, you know, just manage risk at this point. Because if we really want price to break out of this resistance, we want candles to close above. We don't want candles rejecting here. If candles are rejecting, this means maybe our trade is not going to play out, you know, so always manage risk. Let's take a look on the 4-hour. 4-hour is also rejecting that area, so maybe that's going to be a strong resistance forming now. What does he mean when he says he's closing 50%? What that basically means is, let's say if I have a 5 lot running, you know, if I have a 5 lot open, then if I say 50%, that means I'm closing 2.5% in a loss. You know, like 2.5 lots, basically. Man, I was really expecting it to continue bullish. If this consolidation continue till NY open, then it will be a great timing to enter second position. Yes. So basically this was the first try towards my buying analysis, and it looks like it's not gonna work out over here. Now price is just ranging. So if price is ranging in pre-New York, and I'm looking at the time, okay, at pre-New York price is ranging, London session price range, maybe there's gonna be volume coming in New York Open. You know, so maybe I just have to wait for New York Open now to give my bias a second chance. You know, so we're probably gonna wait now. Would USD CHF be a good, less volatile alternative for GJ for NY session? USD CHF. I think USD CHF is going to be a little bit difficult because when you're looking at USD CHF in the New York session, you're worried about how the US dollar is moving, and at the same time, you're worried about how the Swiss franc is moving at the same time. You know, so you got two things to worry about at that point. Let's take a look at this chart from the Gulag. The Gulag has spoken. All right, looking for a daily wick fill to carry on past, right over here, waiting for support to be created here after creating a new high. Okay, makes sense. Ooh, got stopped out at this point. So I took our first trade, managed risk really well. So you know, ended up losing basically 50% of what I intended to lose. So I think it's a pretty good risk management right over there. So in this trade, I opened a 7 lot, right? I opened a 7 lot. My stop loss was around 10 pips. So I was expecting to lose around $690, you know. So instead of losing $690, I lost around 352. And man, it's all about, you know, managing risk at the end of the day. If you can manage risk, you're going to do really good. I bought Magic Keys today. How long do you think it will take to get me in the UK? Probably by like next week. Probably by next week. I'm new to trading. Can you please look at this and tell me if it looks good? Let's take a look at this. Ooh, this is a wrong chart coming straight from the Gulag. Someone who's new. All right, let's just do fresh analysis here. And okay, so let's start off from the daily. Daily is rejecting that heavy support which got rejected yesterday and candle came down. So now daily is going back above bullish here. Let's take a look on the 4-hour. 4-hour candle is also coming up to a resistance at this point. So we're probably going to draw a resistance right over here. We were expecting the pre-New York volume to push price up. Looking on the 1-hour, 1-hour candle, previous one closed with no wick at the bottom. This candle is basically, it's really volatile now because it broke the low and break the high. Let's take a look on the 30-minute. 30-minute is creating a support down at 136.260. We're also creating a resistance up over here at this point, 136.380. So my bias is bullish, you know, for GPJPY, my bias is bullish unless we get a candle closing below 136.250. As long as a candle does not close below 136.250, I'm still looking for buys. I had one opportunity I gave for the buying bias, didn't really work out. Now I'm going to give a second chance to my buying bias if now I get a close above 136.380, you know, 390 for price to continue up towards 136, you know, 500, 550. So I'm gonna wait for that. Let's take a look at this chart here. All right, buys if price breaks through and creates support at 136,600. It looks good. TPs all the way up till here. This makes sense. If the event kind of closes bearish, looking for sells. Yeah. Makes sense. So you're looking for buys, much safer buys above this area here. 136, 520, you know, 518 on the 1 hour also kind of like the same area there. Much safer buys in it, mate. Looking for much safer buys. Ooh, gold is continuing over here on the rampage. Gold is probably going to come in to fill these wicks at 1973, 1972. Easy. Don't you think that the range for your trade is a bit small and therefore more risky? Yeah, it's basically a 15 pip range, but if price is consolidating here, we're creating a resistance here, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 2.5 hours of consolidation. And once this candle closes, we're gonna have like 3 hours of consolidation. So once we have a consolidation like that, and then we're expecting the New York Open to bring in volume for price, then we're basically expecting price to really continue on towards 136,500 and continue beyond that area as well. Because we had a massive push in pre-London, London Open, then price consolidating, so it's consolidating for a further push up or a further push down. Before it had an impulse entry, didn't really quite work, so probably going to wait for a much more confirmation above this area. And we're really anticipating price to continue on, continue on above this area here as well. I got a 2017 webinar for Raja talking about risk management. 3 years later, he's still telling everyone the same thing. Yeah, man. Same thing. Nothing has changed, really. I think it's just gotten better over time. Minimum account balance to trade one lot. I think you should just stop trading here. If you're looking for a minimum account balance to trade one lot, if that's what your mentality is, it's just gonna go in the bin really fast. Realistically, you can trade one loss on $1,000 account, no problem. But then you're risking a lot as well. Why not look for a sell till the bottom of that long wick? Well, we can't look for a sell because there's a support over here. We need candle to close below this area for price to continue moving down. And we got 2 minutes left for this candle to close right over here. And what I'm thinking is maybe in these last 2 minutes, price may continue on towards here, man. In the last 2 minutes. I'm not taking an entry right here. I'm just gonna watch it. I mean, if it goes up there, then it is what it is. We got people in the gulag jumping in on the buys here on GJ, trying to get that move going up. Boom. But if this 15-minute candle closes bullish, man, the next one is continuing to go up. I think till pre-New York, we should come above to 136,550. Thoughts on gold? I think gold should continue into the 1970s area here. It's still continuing here, so I think that's going to be a pretty good move for gold. Coming up towards 1972, 1973. Oh, wow, look at that. Gold is pumping. Gold is pumping. GJ is also trying to pump over here. Let's take a look at this chart here. This chart is coming from Mr. Hiddy. Ooh, wrong chart. Come on, man. Wrong chart first thing in the morning. Damn. Why isn't Ted on the streams anymore? Ted's probably, I don't know, man. Like he's his own person. Maybe he's busy somewhere. So if you see this, candle's coming to a close in 30 seconds. And yeah, if this candle closes below this area, man, this thing is still ranging here. So now you'll have to really wait for price to break up. Your JPY is also ranging. There's no news here today. Let's take a look at USD CAD for some people. I know some people trade USD CAD, so we're going to take a look at USD CAD over here. USD CAD is coming down. Let's take a look on the daily. On daily as well, USD CAD is coming down. We created a resistance here. I think we were looking at USD CAD yesterday for price to continue bearish. We have resistance there. 4-hour candle is still at the support. We really need to break the support on USD CAD. This is a very, very strong support, especially on the 1 hour and the 4 hour. Because if we can break the support right here, then there's a very high probability for price to continue moving bearish down to this area here. Something that would make much more sense. There we go. The 30-minute candle has closed. The 1 hour candle has also closed. Looking at the 1 hour candle closed bullish, making a very liquidity area right over here, not really clean. Looking on the 30-minute also closed bullish. 30-minute candle closed with a small body. You know, a small body candle means less volume, right? So this candle closed right at this resistance. So there's no bias at this point. You know, let's take a look on the 15-minute. 15-minute also closed below resistance, so there's no bias at this point. So now, instead of looking for an impulse entry, I'd want to look for a price to, like, you know, close out of this range and then possibly look for a second chance to these buys. So yeah, man, mostly things are ranging now. Your JPY is ranging, we're waiting. GJ is ranging now, we're waiting. Because now we want price to break out of this range. So it's ranging. Waiting for price to break out of the range, but bias is bullish. We will have high volume when NY market open. That's basically what I'm looking for as well. For the volume to come in. All right, we have Bitcoin analysis coming in. Haven't seen Bitcoin in a while here. Oh, okay. Look at this. We got the 4-hour chart. We got area where traffic is expected. Bullish rejection. Clean traffic and anticipated price to mirror the candle to the left. Okay, this makes sense. I think at the same time, if you drop down to your 30-minute time frame or maybe even the 1 hour time frame, then you're going to be able to see some more, like, you know, some supports forming and whatnot, so you can really manage your stop loss at that point. Let's take a look at this chart here. Oh, this is another wrong chart coming from the gulag. Come on, man, work with me here. Send me a right chart. Hey, so you mentioned that if it's a fake out, 80% it will go towards other direction. Yes. So what we're seeing right over here is that price is just ranging. You know, so that fake out, which I talked about right over here, this was on a 15-minute time frame, right? So now the thing about 15-minute confirmation is they're weak confirmation. So I was really expecting this candle to close above this area to continue up, but it closed back in this range. And so maybe this was so if this was a 15-minute confirmation of a fake out, it was a weak confirmation, which is why it didn't work. Now we're looking at the 30-minute time frame, and obviously I'm waiting for a 30-minute candle to either close below support over here or close above resistance. Other than that, I'm not touching this pair at all because I already took one trade. That trade was a loss. So now we're waiting for this candle to kind of, like, you know, give us some direction here. Hey, I took a buy. It was successful, but was it luck or a good trade? Can you check? Thank you in advance. All right, let's check here. Let's check this lucky trade. Market trending up, support formed, resistance formed. Price broke above wick, took an impulse buy for 10 pips, put stop loss below previous 5-minute candle. Yeah, I think it was risky, but I think you're really anticipating price to break above, so you took a buy above over here. You took a buy above here as price was breaking the highs at this point. And yeah, you secured 10 pips. You secured some profits. So as long as you're securing profits, man, you're pretty good because you're not losing at that point. And it looks like GPJPY is dropping down over here now. We're dropping below. We're dropping below into the same area where candles dropped below and then retraced all the way. So at the same time, I'm also being very cautious on what happens with this candle. I mean, if this 30-minute candle closes below the support, then you could say, okay, yeah, you know what, price couldn't go up. It's breaking below the support, so there's a high probability price may continue moving down. You know, so I'm waiting at that point. Okay, what's this? I saw price broke into this area again, right over here. Price was waiting for support to be formed. Entry at the close of the 30-minute, anticipating pre-NY volume to test the high. Close 50%. Managed risk. This is pretty good. Managed risk. Like whenever you can manage risk, I think that's a win. Because as long as you're not losing what you plan to lose, if you're losing less than what you plan to lose, I think that's a pretty good trade management trade. So that's why, you know, whenever I lose a trade, I don't really get sad or I don't get disappointed, because as long as I'm, you know what I'm talking about, risk management. Gold is also retracing now. Probably gold is going to create some sort of support here for price to continue moving bullish. Hey, at what point can we change the bias to bearish, anticipating a clean move to the left? That's an excellent question. I think the best way to change the bias would be if you get confirmations that price is going to go down. For example, right, let's say if you get this candle closing below the support, then you're saying that, okay, well, you know, like buys didn't work, and if the 30-minute candle is closing below support, then it makes sense for price to continue moving bearish at that point, right? And then you could say, okay, you know what, now I'm going to change my bias. So there's a whole lot of waiting here now. So if you look at the time, there are 23 minutes left for this candle to close. So we got to wait 23 minutes. So if you're looking at any pair and you think you'll have to wait, then yeah, man, you'll have to wait. Let's take a look at this chart here. This is another GJ analysis. This is pretty good. We're getting a lot of GPY analysis. Buy support above 136.510. Buy support above 136.150 after a deeper pullback, okay, from right over here. Sells only if new lows and lower highs, resistance formed at 136, oh, right over here. I think if price can break and close below 136.250, it's going to be a pretty good opportunity for price to continue down. Oh, what's this over here? Hey, Raja, Ian is bearish, but my bullish setup is working good. What do you think? Well, well, well. Something is bearish, but you're in a buys, and well, yeah, it's pretty good. High time frame is bearish, so I'm not sure if I go long. I think it's good in a way because, you know, price is retracing. Maybe price is retracing to come up over here, create like a minor resistance, and then continue down. But since you're in buys, now you just gotta manage. Now you just gotta manage your trade at this point. And if you look at GPJPY, now price is coming up at this point. Really, really hard range here, man. Really, really hard range. When price is ranging like this, it's enticing people to enter. Ooh, wow, your JPY is really taking a tumble over here. See, this is good because this can, if it's breaking below the lows, then it's gonna continue moving down, right? So you want candles to now close above or below the zones. How do you differentiate between liquidity wick and rejection wick? Liquidity wick happens in the direction of the trend. Rejection wick happens at, so if you look over here, right? So these are rejection wicks right over here. Rejection, rejection, rejection. So now if this candle closes above, you know, 136, 360, 370, then you can say, okay, you know what? This move down was a liquidity wick. But if it closes below this area and makes a long wick up over here, then you can say, okay, this was a rejection wick. So I think we need to bring some mango juice here on the platform. for price to continue moving bullish. Why has the week been so slow for most pairs? The reason week has been so slow for most pairs is because we have a lot of news coming in, right? So if you go to the calendar, we're going to see on Wednesday we got core retail sales for USD, we got CAD CPI coming on, we got interest rates for the USD, and then Thursday we got interest rates for the pound. So there's a lot of things happening here this week. So maybe this Tuesday might just range, and Tuesday might just range knowing that we have some volatile news in the books here. Looks like GPJPY is just going to continue on at this point now. We've broken above the 15-minute high, and as it's breaking up the 15-minute high, I think it's just going to continue moving, but you just got to wait for this candle to close now. We got 4 minutes left over here. 4 minutes left. So while you're waiting for the 4-minute candle, so while I'm waiting for the 4-minute candle to close, I'm accepting the fact that, okay, price can continue moving up to target within those 4 minutes. I'm accepting that fact. And I'm also accepting the fact that I might miss the move at that point too, but, that's just the way it is. Sometimes you just gotta accept some facts. Let's take a look at this chart here. GU, oh, very nice, man. I saw this chart earlier on and you were in a buys and price is still moving bullish. I think it's pretty good. Now just secure some positions and let the rest run. If you draw zones on the 1 hour time frame, can you use those zones on 30-minute confirmation? Yes. Yes, you can. So if you see this zone is based on the 30-minute time frame, we go to the 1 hour. Now it's based on the 1 hour time frame. It doesn't really look like a zone on the 1 hour time frame, but on the 30-minute it does, because now we see some more information. Tomorrow I'm starting school here in Italy. I won't be able to watch the live stream anymore. I will miss you, bro. I will miss you guys from Gulag too. Hey, Omar, good luck in your school, man. Good luck in your school, and just study hard. Make sure you study 8 hours a day every day. That's what my dad used to tell me, when he'd go to work, he'd tell me, you guys better study 8 hours every day today, 8 hours at home. And obviously that never happened, because 8 hours is a long time to study, man. Hey, do you think these long liquidity wicks mean that GJ will rocket once this resistance is broken? Or is it just a whole lot of volatility? This is a whole lot of volatility over here. Like when you see candles breaking the highs and breaking the lows, this is volatility right over here. So you're basically waiting for price to break out of this area now. All right, let's take a look at this chart over here. This is, okay, this is a GJ 1 hour chart. Is this a better level at the rejection by wicks key level? Is this a better level at the body of the closes? I think at the body of the closes right here, this yellow line, this is much better. Same thing right over here. If you zoom into the 30-minute time frame where you have this area, this is also better right over here. So it's the body, because you want candles to close above the bodies, even though the candle can wick up. But if you get a candle closing above this area, no matter how big the wick is, you can turn around and say, okay, you know what, like this candle, so let's say for example this candle closes like this. Oh, let me use a better color over here. Okay, so let's say this candle closes like this, right? If that candle closes like this right over here, now you're saying, okay, this candle closed above all these candles, which means this is now a breakout candle. So now it's going to be easier for the candles after this to kind of like wick down and continue moving bullish. So that's why drawing zones on the bodies is much more important, because now visually you can anticipate a candle to close above that area. Right? It's the same thing here when candle goes bearish. If a candle is going bearish, you're expecting this candle to break and close. Let's say it closes right over here. So if it closes right over here, it's closing below these candles to the left. And then you're waiting for the next candle to close, maybe something like this, and then expecting the next one to just continue moving down. So in that case, you can look for sells, if you get a close below this area. So you're always looking for two biases, for buys and for sells. What's this? If this 15-minute candle closes above and I want to take an impulse entry, is it better to wait 30 minutes? Yes, it's better to wait for the 30-minute now. So it's very ranging at this point. Danger Ranger. Hey, based on fundamental fact, are you holding a trade for a long time due to fundamental confirmation? No. I hold trades for maybe 30 minutes max, 35 to 40 minutes max. More than that, probably not. If is 15-minute time frame only to execute impulse entry and cut losses? No, you're looking at all time frames. All time frames play a very vital role in where price is going to go. Is it okay to assume GU as a confluence for GJ during pre-New York? No, it's not demi. You've been here for a long time, and you do understand that GU in the New York session is moved by pound and the USD. And GJ is influenced by only the pound. Only before NY session? Yes, only before NY session. I'm waiting on GJ. What do you think? I usually trade 20 pips plus trade. Oh wow, we got a 20 pipper over here. Let's take a look at this. This is buy over here, buy above here, TP over here. Yeah, this makes sense. This makes sense for your 20 pips. So you're buying above 136,500 and anticipating price to come up towards 136,680, you know, close to 137. That makes sense. It's pretty good. Can you explain us about your previous entry buy at 135,900? Yes, for sure. So we're looking at the daily candle right over here, right? So my entry was around 135,895, somewhere over here, 895 right over here. This was my entry right over here at night, you know. So once this was happening, the daily candle was somewhere at this point right over here as well. It made a liquidity wick, and I was looking at this, I'm like, okay, well, what are the odds that price is going to continue moving up on the daily and not continue down? So I was like, okay, let me see how big my stop is going to be if I take this trade based on a daily time frame. So I measured my stop. I'm like, okay, my stop is going to be around 50 pips. That's actually a pretty big stop. So I'm like, okay, let me do some investigation on the small time frames. So we dropped down to the 4-hour time frame and looked at the 4-hour. And when I looked at the 4-hour, I'm like, okay, you know what? This 4-hour candle is still open. The next one is going to form, and as the next one is going to form, I'm going to be sleeping at that point. So let's take a look on the 1-hour time frame and let's see what we can do over here. So looking at the 1 hour, around at this point we were looking at, no, I think it was right over here around like 12, you know, 12:15, 12:30. So I was looking at this candle here. I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, the previous candle had no wick at the bottom, right? So if the previous candle had no wick at the bottom, this means this candle had no bearish pressure to even continue down. So I was like, okay, if I can take a buy at this point, keep my stop below the previous 1-hour candle, and then just expect price to not break this low, you know, and then continue moving up. So I placed my entry, stop was below the previous 1-hour candle, and was really expecting price to continue moving up. So when I woke up, price was somewhere at 136,300, somewhere over here. So I closed my trade. And when I looked at the candles, I was expecting them to make higher highs and higher lows, but I guess we consolidated in pre-London and then moved up at London session. So the stop was below this 1-hour candle right over here. What's this? I would rather see GJ range until NY open, hoping for a bigger breakout. Yes, I would hope so too. Like it's arranging at this point right now. Can I ask you if you mastered risk management already? Why don't you trade lots of pairs or search for best setup instead of sticking to GJ? Because I believe I believe that all pairs, they have personalities, right? All pairs, they move very different to each other pairs. And when you have pairs moving differently to every other pair, I think it's going to be very difficult. So if I choose, like, let's say a pair like Euro USD or Euro NZD or GP USD, I know that those pairs, they move differently, right? So it's going to take me a long time to get used to how they move and how they behave, and how different sessions, like, affect those pairs. So that's the reason I just stick to GJ. Because your pairs are like people, right? Your pairs are exactly like people. You choose one person and you just focus on that person. And once you focus on that person, you know how that person behaves in the morning, in the evening, like at night. What's the best time to, like, get things done from that person? What's the time when the person is going to be, like, lazy? So that's what happens with the pairs too. Like, once you choose a pair, it's like you're understanding how it moves, when it consolidates, when it ranges. But if you do the same sort of stalking with the person, then obviously you're going to get in trouble, right? That's going to be borderline stalking. Is November intake opening up on September 17th? Yes. Yeah. Probably by tomorrow. Ooh, someone's got their hands raised. Okay. Hey, Raja, if no wick on higher time frame on either side means no buyers or sellers pressure, then why do people, including Monty, expect price to reverse on lower time frame to create the missing wick on higher time frame? I don't know, man. You got to go ask those people. I mean, I c- those people do that. You got to go ask them. I don't do that, so you can't even ask me about it.
I was just gonna say, if people are watching gold, you might get this turn into a consolidation area, and you might get a pop up. But I think you got a nice move coming in all the way to about 1980. 1982. I think we should be able to get up there. Based on the weekly, we're coming into that huge zone on the weekly. So we just want to be cautious, because at any point, this is where you can get into trouble. So if anybody's watching the weekly time frame, you have to consider all this a zone. All this here a zone. That has to be considered a zone. So as we push through, you might find that it rejects at any point in this area here. But how you can combat that is with this candle here doing what it's doing, chances are it's now going to fill the top part of this body here. So as the candle moves up on the weekly, you start to go through and you start to see where there's actual volume in the candle, and that's where we should go, being mindful of these wick areas here, which is part of that zone. But since we're pushing through on the weekly, there's a higher probability that we get to the top, of this volume here. And then if it pushes through, then you mark over here, then you go finally here, and then eventually finally to here. And you're using these candles here as your confluence as you go up. Because once again, when you work on this on the lower time frames, a lot of times we say, the wicks get filled with momentum. So you can see right now we have momentum building with gold. So there's a high probability that the weekly wicks could get filled. But if they don't, you know that they get rejected. So if I'm looking now and saying I don't like this area here to trade gold, then you have this area here out of that zone right over here to attack. And then essentially you have to push into this area here. But if you like the fact that we have momentum, that's how you would play off these areas here. And then you would say, okay, perfect. We're going to continue to move up. If we do reject, we technically have to wait till we get to about here to then allow us to drop into this area again. Because once again, we don't know, we would need a candle to leave this area to start to move and drop down. I wouldn't want to take a position just because this weekly candle rejected here, similar to what we saw in this area here. It was indecision, but we still had momentum going up, and that's why this weekly candle continued to push that momentum using this area here as a support or a zone. So this zone here, we basically flew zone to zone at that point. So now that you're in sort of a no man's area with zones, you have to watch how the smaller time frames react and how we will then continue to push in here. But because it's a weekly zone, it's harder to break. So just be careful if you are trading gold that we could bounce around this area here and then continue to break up or pull right back down to this level over here. And so that's what you'd be watching with gold. It did look a little messy. I do apologize for that, but essentially this is your idea. So I mean, here I'll make it really rough. If we go back to the weekly, this is your zone right here. We can recognize that this is a zone. This is your other zone here. So the weekly candle went basically zone to zone. At this point, there's going to be a reaction. We are either going to the top of this level here or the top of this level here, using these little areas here as a little bit of difficulty because they'll bounce around and reject. And that's where you'll see your smaller time frames. You'll see those problems and you'll see them pull back. And you'll say, well, you know, like now we should be selling gold. Technically speaking, it's very hard to sell gold with a weekly bullish candle. Like I said, I would want a candle that finishes with a rejection to start going back down. Then I would start taking sells, and then you can say, okay, if we do start to go down with a rejection, these candles here, this area here, that's a clean move. You're going to get a clean move all the way through this zone, all the way back down again. So just keep that in mind if you are looking at gold.
Yeah, I was looking at this bullish move here as well. Just this problem right here at like 1972 on the daily. That's the only issue here. We've been trying to come up for a little while there, it kept rejecting. But you're right, after we break that area, oh, actually, you know what? Except for 1982, we can move back up to 2000. You know, once we come above, 1971 area.
Yeah. So I think that's just something that if people look at, once we break above this area, it might be good opportunities to go a little bit long, but that's keeping the weekly time frame in mind, the higher time frame. So when it rejects in this area here, if it rejects anywhere in this area here, you know that it's based off the weekly time frame. So that's where I just want people to understand, they take a buy and it comes up here and then all of a sudden it pulls back down and then they say, well, why did that happen? That's a lot of times I get emails or I get DMs in my inbox saying, well, how did we know that it was going to reject? And it's, well, when we come to a higher time frame zone, you don't know where in that zone it's going to reject until it actually does. But the fact that we're approaching that zone, you can then plan your trade accordingly. And you can say, hey, listen, at this point, I have to give up and say, here's my stop loss. If my stop loss gets hit, I'm okay with that because I don't know where we're going to reject in that zone. And if we start to move away from that zone, I need another higher time frame candle to give me confluence to say, okay, now we're moving on our way down. It's very difficult for you to play off those zones on a single candle. And what I mean by that is if you took buys this week on gold, that's great, but you wouldn't necessarily know where to take sells because the candle is still bullish. So you would essentially have to wait another week to see how the next weekly candle would form so that you can try and get in on on those sells if it is actually indeed a drop. Reason being is because the higher time frames with gold, especially, the characteristic is it does prevail a lot of times. So you might find that even though we get like a $5 pullback on gold, there's still a huge bullish upside at that point. Or, you know, if you have a $5 drive up in a bearish trend, that is not changing direction. It's just a breather. And you know what? A lot of people get burned trading gold doing that, and they're saying, well, oh, now gold's going down, and what happens, it just goes down for maybe half a day or goes down for a couple hours, and it just flies all the way back up again. So you have to be very cautious of that and really put together the story, especially on the higher time frames with gold. Don't get caught in the fact that the hour candle rejected and it went down like $2. That's very, very poor thinking with gold. And yes, you can definitely be profitable trading those little minor pullbacks, but like I've always said, I rather trade where I have more upside potential in terms of the fact that I'm trading with the trend than trying to counter trend, hoping that I've called a top or a bottom at that point.
Okay, this is 7:30 over here, and looks like GJ is trying to make a second run. Are we going to get this push for New York Open now? As we move towards New York Open, and as price is coming up, 15-minute candle is coming up over here at this point. So yeah, this looks like a shotgun formation. This is
It's like when you play American football, you know.
yeah. You had clock back, and then it's gonna go.
Yeah, it's coming.
Boom. You know what I would want? I would want the 15-minute candle to close above this area once and for all, so that on the next one I can take a buy and we can continue up.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's something that would make me take a buy. Oh wow, see that? So important now. I took my first entry. First entry was an impulse entry. Obviously, you know, managed risk, and there was a loss. Second entry, no impulse entry, man. Waiting for candles to close. Look at that pullback. Looks like the shotgun is choking back now.
Formation looks good, even though we have a heavy resistance, you know, rejection, a lot of rejection at 15-minute at 136 400. Yeah, I'm expecting New York opening to do a nice push.
Yeah. Yeah. What if this candle shoots up all the way? Will you wait for a retest on support? Yeah, if it shoots all the way, then basically it is what it is.
It is what it is,
Yeah,
exactly.
just wait for a support. Is it just me that thinks GJ was a person it would be really big a-hole? Yes. GJ would be the person who would never lend you any money. He would always ask for money. But he'd be a fun person to hang around with too. That's the kind of friend GJ would be. Someone who never has money, but is a fun person to hang around with. How do you keep losses small and cut your losses at -3 or -4 pips when your stop loss is -10 pips? It's about really, well, like, this whole stream, if you rewatch the stream, the recap, you'll know exactly how the losses were being managed at that point. Hey, recently you take a buy position. Why did you take it before candle closed instead of after it? Because we were expecting the volume to continue pushing bullish. There hasn't been anything after that. It's just ranging now. Everything's ranging. Your JPY is kind of like struggling. GJ is also struggling in this range. Nothing really concrete has happened. What do we got? We got 20 more minutes. We have 9 more minutes for this 15-minute candle to close. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and get some food, because we got time for this candle to close. Yes, since we got time for this candle to close, so I got to make good use of my time now. This range,
gold's going to consolidate too in that area on the hourly. So I think with gold, if you're looking right now, you can probably box this up, start using this as a box. And obviously, if we break above or below that box, I mean, obviously sells, you can probably come down to here if you like that to go to counter trend, but buys anything above here. If you're buying inside this box, my advice is to buy at the bottom of this box. Don't try and buy at the top of the box. So if you're looking to take trades, you may want to buy over here to get up to here if you believe momentum is going to continue up, and then your stop will be outside of this box here if you're looking to take buys at this point. So just keep that in mind. But I think you might want to wait till the next hour to really see some movement.
Yeah, for me, sells on golds are really dangerous. Not looking for sells at all.
Yeah, I think we're just playing in a big range. I think that's been the most difficult part to trade right now with gold, is the ranges have been so big on like an hourly or 4-hour candle. It's been, $5 or $10. It's very difficult for you to manage those ranges. So you might have to jump in, like I said, and set yourself up this way, where you place a box on the hourly candle, and then you'll work off the 5 or the 15-minute candles and hope that they hold support. And then what I mean by hope is leveraging probability that, we're going to still continue in the same direction that we are right now so we're still bullish. So if we see a bullish support held and we start to move up on the smaller time frames, then the larger time frame will continue in that direction. If we only try to catch 10 pips per trade, why do you see monthly and weekly, not daily, not enough? Okay, so that's a good question. It's not necessarily why do we look at the different time frames if we're only looking at 10 pips. It's because there's potential, there's times, and this is part of when you're driving, right? Like if you're driving a car and you're on a road trip and you're going like 200 miles, there's going to be times where your gas tank is a quarter of the way empty, right? So you have a quarter tank left, and you have to think ahead to where the next gas station is going to be so that you can fill up your gas tank. Even though you still have half the trip, there might be a gas station in the next 5 minutes that you need to fill up in, even though you still have a quarter tank and you thought you could go further. So it's the same thing here. You may be looking at an hour candle where we're going bullish, but that hour candle may be lining up with a daily or a weekly zone, and you're not recognizing that. And then when you try and take a buy with that hourly candle, you're going right into a daily or a weekly zone, and you get a massive rejection. And then you sit back and you look and you say, well, you know, it was a bullish trend on the hourly and the 15-minute and the 30-minute. Why did we reject so hard off that time frame when all the hourly candles were bullish? It's because you didn't see further enough ahead to realize that your hourly candle was lining up with higher time frames. So these are instances where you don't do that necessarily all the time, but if you mark that out on your charts and you know that we're coming close to a weekly level or a daily level, we may not want to be around that point. We may not want to trade around that area, even though the hourly is bullish or the 30 minutes bearish or whatever the trend is on the smaller time frames. Just as we approach into higher time frame traffic, you don't want to be in the trade because you may not get the results that you want because of that information. So there's some times that, you know, everything sort of lines up and you just have to take a step back and say, hey, I don't want to be part of this trade because we are heading into a weekly zone or a daily zone, and I have to wait a few days now to get out of that area so that I can now continue my trade at that point. Yeah, and if anybody's watching US 30, we've had a similar move on US 30 that we had with gold, where now we're pushing up. Um, the thing is, if you look at the weekly candles on US 30, we had 2 weeks of bearish movement, and this candle on the weekly has gone straight bullish. The issue that I see is on the weekly candle, we're heading into a zone around 28,000. And you might find that you should be probably looking to take sells in below 27 or below 27,600. To be honest, the way that the monthly candles are setting up with US 30, we have an indecision candle on the monthly. I think that's potentially the top of the range for US 30. So where you see a zone on the monthly with US 30, that we're probably at the top of that range. We may tap back in there one more time next month, which is October, and then in November start the descent all the way back down. The rationale behind that is, once again, once the elections come, I think a lot of this stimulus currently, or the equity market's been propped up by stimulus, which I think now is potentially going to run out, and that's going to sink the equity market, which will drop US 30. So if you can see on the monthly timeframes, it's been a very, very heavy struggle to break past 28,000, to break in obviously into 29,000 again. And when you're looking at that, keep in mind how the story is going to play out with the equity market. So what do we know about the equity market? We know right now that there's been massive stimulus in for businesses and for personal use. Okay, so we know that. We also know that the US government can't keep printing money. So like I said, what you may see is you may see one more bounce into the high 28,000 range, so maybe 28,500, and then start to sell off. To be honest, I'm looking for a sell-off with US 30. I think there's more downside for US 30 than there is upside. Am I going to start trading the downside right now? No, because I'm never going to bet against the federal government. I'm never going to bet against the U.S. government in the way that they're going to stimulate, they're going to push stimulus into their economy. But at the same time, for me, we are just in too high of a range for US 30. So, you could obviously buy the upside from 28,000 into 29,000. That's fine. But if you want, I rather look at going from 27,000 down to 25,000. So it makes much more, it would make much more sense to go to the downside than it would be the upside, because looking from a fundamental standpoint, we have a lot more downside than we do upside at this point. So what you can do is you can put information on your charts to start mapping out or giving yourself alerts around 27,500, things like that, just to see where we are, and you could probably catch the downside all the way to 25,000 at that point, because of the way that we're shifting and the way that this weekly candle's forming. So if we visualize this weekly candle, we had no bottom wick, right? So that means more than likely in this area we're going to have a reaction, which matches up with the higher time frames, or even 29,000, and that can then signify the drop. It's very difficult, and if you look at the way candle structure is here, it's very difficult that this candle now suddenly is going to go bullish up here. The structure doesn't support that. We normally have a rejection, so you would normally have a rejection down and a drive up, but since we don't have that and we have rejections to the top side on the weekly candle, there's more than likely that this weekly candle is going to create a wick and start to drive that downside down towards the end of the week potentially, because we are entering into this zone here. So there is more upside in this zone, but don't be surprised if it does reject that level and then just start to drop. Just similar to what happened in this candle here and in this candle here.
Looks like GJ is saying, okay, let's try this again. GJ's like, let's give it another shot over here. What's this? How do you enter a trade? Do you wait for breaks before and going into sessions? Or will you map out zones, buy, set, stop, basically go one-to-one with it? Where do you look for an entry? Basically, for me, it's very simple. For me, I'm just going to be worried about, okay, what can I do the next day? Like, let's say if I take a trade and it works out, whatever, and now I want to wait for the next day, I'm going to come to the charts. Basically, let's say if I'm coming to, let's say, gold chart right over here, right? So I'm going to come to the chart, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove everything, start from the daily, and then I'm going to start analyzing that, okay, where we had it right now. So let's say we came to the chart on gold right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, we came to a resistance area right over here on the daily resistance zone right over here. Now there's a possibility price may continue up to these wicks over here. So now if we think price is going to come into these wicks, I think we gotta drop down to the 4-hour time frame and then see that, okay, now this is going to be an important area for price to break, for it to come above towards 1990, 1989. $1991. What do you think? What do you think GJ will do? I am not sure what GJ is going to do. Not sure about that. The 4-hour candle is going to close in an hour, so we don't know how this 4-hour candle is going to close. The 1-hour candle is going to close in 10 minutes. It's still above that support. If you look on the 30-minute, we're still above that support. So there's certain things we don't know what's going to happen. I think what gives you edge to take impulse entries is to follow the requirements to take an impulse entry. Yeah, I think that's what gives you edge in everything, you know, like if you want to drive a car, you should follow the requirements to drive the car. You know, follow the red lights. um, let's take a look at okay, news. Ooh, Germany will secure more virus vaccines than the population. This is gonna come in now. You know, this is gonna come in now. Like soon, once you start traveling, they'll say, okay, do you have the certificate that you've been tested? That's how it's gonna start. Do you have a certificate that you've been tested? Do you have proof? And then you're like, no, I don't. Then they're like, okay, go get tested. You get tested. Then slowly it's gonna come down to, okay, do you have a certificate that you've had the, like, you know, the vaccine? And that's how it's gonna start. Through air travel, to traveling, through like buying stuff and things like that. But you know, it's another conspiracy. So I'm trying to make some rules for impulse entries to know exactly when to use them. I'm thinking only to take an impulse entry if a candle closes above or below resistance. Yes, that's true. A candle forms support resistance with clean traffic. What do you think? Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Those are the two ways, I mean, that basically work. Like, let's say, for example, if this candle closes bearish over here, then you could basically say, okay, that the next candle has a high probability for price to continue moving bearish. Because at this point, if you look at the time, we're moving into New York Open. And I mean, whichever way price breaks and closes, I think that's going to be the way where price is going to move with volume. As we're moving into, you know, the time when there's going to be volume in the market. Let's take a look at this chart here. This is GU. We have a floor over here. We have a possible ceiling, which means resistance. If price closes bearish, I will enter when price breaks below the low. Nice swing opportunity, but we'll have to TP over here. Yeah, I think you might have to TP. How do you zoom in? Okay. I think you might have to TP right over here because this was some sort of a resistance at this point, and it stretches all the way to the left. So that's going to be an area right there. And just by looking at this, seems like it's bullish. So maybe a good idea would be to maybe wait for price to create a support and then continue up, you know, to retest this high. Hey, please look at correlation of GJ and GU. They have no correlation in your session, but we'll read on. GJ has stopped because of support on 11 September. GU flew past it as in having resistance 9 September. I think your trade should have been in GU. Yeah, see, that's the thing. If I'm not going to find a trade on my pair, which is GJ, I'm basically not going to look at something else to take a trade. That's the thing. It doesn't matter. You know, like trading is like a sales job. Sometimes you get sales and sometimes you don't get sales. But you maintain discipline. And a part of discipline is like saying, okay, if your pair is ranging, maybe that's the day it's just going to range. So it doesn't mean then you start chasing a trade on some other pair. You know, so if I know that GU moved, which I know because, you know, some people took buys on GJ or GU and moved bullish. And I was like, okay, you know what? That's fine. That's perfectly fine because I don't trade GU. What I do trade, what I do know a lot of things, and like, man, listen, like I've had a lot of successful trades with GJ, especially live, you know, so I know for a fact that if I take trades on GJ systematically the way I do, I'm going to have more wins than losses. You know, and when you have more wins than losses, and when you logically think about that, you're like, okay, you know what? Even if I increase my risk, And if I just do the same thing that I do every day, I'm going to have more wins and less losses no matter what happens. But the moment you start over trading, that's when you start going downhill. Hey, I heard you talk about the NY Open and one of your webinars. I tried to Google it, but can't really find it. Can you please explain me the difference? Yeah, so NY Open is your, um, New York market opening, and then NYC opening is a stock market opening.
Yeah, so we call the New York market, it's the North American currency market open. So that's at 8 a.m. But obviously the New York, or, because we have the New York Stock Exchange, we always call it New York to represent the USA market open. We don't necessarily talk about Canada or Mexico opening at 8 a.m. We talk about USA market open. So that's why they call it the New York currency open at 8 a.m. And then obviously, like Raja said, the equity market is the New York Stock Exchange at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. And the reason why we're aware of 9:30 a.m. Eastern is because if people are buying equities or selling equities in the New York Stock Exchange, they need US dollars. So that means that the currency market will also fluctuate based on the requirements of the equity market as people purchase equities and other financial instruments during that time. They need US dollars to purchase that because they're purchasing it on the New York Stock Exchange, which is US based. So keep that in mind whenever you have a stock exchange open, whether it's the London exchange or the Canadian Stock Exchange or the German exchange. You have to realize that there's going to be movement in those currencies because people are buying and selling those instruments on that exchange, and they do need that currency to make those purchases or sells.
All right, let's take a look over here. This is GA. Could we take sells if the 30-minute candle closed bearish?
Yeah, so if you're watching GJ right now, to be honest, it's very, very tough to trade GJ. The reason why it's very tough to trade GJ right now is a lot of times to set yourself up, what you'll try and do is look at the way the daily structure is. And to be honest, the daily structure is very poor with GJ. We're actually in probably what looks like a consolidation pattern on the daily. So a lot of times when you try and trade these patterns, you're able to get small pieces of the market. And then if it does actually break up to either the downside or the upside, you know, you capture the larger move, which starts the trend. But you can see right now, like 135, 565 was a very heavy support. And what you might find is we're pulling back into that area again to potentially drop further. The rationale behind this is if you look at the weekly candle, there's a lot of there's a lot of bearish momentum. So if you do get buys today with GJ, they might be short-lived. But I think this week is going to be very tough to trade GJ, to be honest. Just the way the candle structures are set up. And people are saying they can't see the screen. I'm assuming that you have a chart open and you can flip to your daily time frame when I speak on the daily time frame to GJ, similar to if you were in a high school or university class and we all had textbooks and I said look at page 3. I think everybody has the aptitude to turn to page 3 without actually having to see it on the screen. So I was just trying to say something while Raja was away. If you look at the way the daily structure is, you might find that that's the reason why we're struggling in the smaller time frames. So this is something to note when you are actually trading GJ, that if we are trading on the daily or trading within a daily range, the smaller time frames are very hard to trade with at that point. So keep that in mind. But when GJ does break up or break down, that's where you'll get the trend. So you can take a look, and if I look at my daily candles, I can see last week, you had very, very strong bearish movement over a few days, and now this week we're sort of consolidating or ranging. We just want to be cautious about that, and let you let the market set up, because once again, if GJ does break to the upside or break to the downside, it's going to be a massive move. And we just want to make sure we break out of those levels, because we can see that there's a lot of consolidation right now on the higher time frames. And it seems like yesterday we tried to break above, we've tried twice to break above 136,593 or 136,600 on the daily with GJ, and we haven't succeeded. So that leads me to believe that there might be potential more downside with GJ if we don't break back up again. And then that will, once we break 135,565, then we're on the downside all the way to probably 133 at that point, at least to 134,350. So just keep that in mind. If you look, we had a very, very heavy bearish movement last week with GJ. It looks like this weekly candle is setting up bearish. If it doesn't actually go bearish and we hold support at 135,500, then that would be a great sign to say that next week we may have one more rejection in this area, and then we will continue to drive up. And then you have last week's weekly candle that went bearish to have a full correction to go back up to 139. So you have an opportunity there. People are asking me why I'm picking those ranges. I'm looking at where we have a lot of candle volume, and we have a lot of support at 133, basically. So I have an area there where we have range. So just keep that in mind. If you're looking at the weekly time frame, I really think the weekly time frame has an opportunity to start to drop. If we don't hold, if we don't continue going bullish, and Raj is showing right now on the daily and the higher time frames, this area here is very hard to break. So if we don't break up, then chances are we're going to start to break down. And, you know, if we break below this area here, we're on a free fall at that point. So just manage your ranges accordingly. But obviously, if we do break up, what I'd like to see here is I obviously want to see this wick and then this drive up. And then you have this candle here as your clean traffic move to the left at that point. And that's part of last week's weekly candle that dropped very hard at that point. Raja, you're muted. Raja's talking to himself.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that it's really disappointing that it didn't really break up, you know, when we thought it would, and then just came back down. But now it's coming down to the same area where it rejected at 6 a.m. Yeah, you know, pretty hard. So probably going to be no trade here now. Next, we're coming back down. Obviously, as price is dropping, would want to see some sort of like, you know, like a retest. And like Ted was right, and break above 136,400. There's a very high probability we're going to continue down here, and even higher probability we may break below this range, and then a free fall down towards our 134 down here. There's another support down at 135 right there. All right, let's take a look at this chart over here. This is Martin. Ooh, nice. So you took a sell when the 30-minute broke the low over here. The stop is up over there. See now, since this is the first 6 minutes of the right at this point, I think you could maybe bring your stop above the high of the 30-minute candle, because this 30-minute candle has already dropped a lot, right? If you look at this 30-minute candle has dropped like 14, 15 pips at this point. So you can basically bring your stop down and now like you know, pretty nice risk reward trade at that point. Oh, beautiful. Oh, it looks like the gulag is having some problems.
Yeah, you're getting the beep boop boop boop, which I get sometimes.
Okay, I entered 15 minutes once we broke the low. Oh, nice. So people took impulse entries over here. Wow, so if it's dropping now, it's dropping all the way down then. There's no retest coming in at this point. I mean, I don't think so at this point. Like, if it's going to drop, maybe for sure it's going to come down to 135,840. So at this point, would want to see some sort of like, you know, resistance forming, because essentially now what's happening is we're coming down to this range over here where we had resistance here. So this whole area right here. So we had resistance here, we had resistance here, and we had a rejection here this morning, and price is coming back down. So looking for like a minor resistance forming would be a much better idea now. And that's where you can say, okay, like, you know what? Now the bias has changed to basically sells for price to continue down to this area here, 135,850. No more buys. How are you guys posting your charts with TradingView? The site is so confusing. Yes, it is confusing in the start. Man, I broke my statue over here. Look at this. I broke it. This thing fell on the ground and half my face came off. Yeah. Look,
Wow.
so sad. I'll probably super glue it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get some glue. Can you give me some thoughts on this trade? Let's take a look here. Let's give some thoughts. Man, I give this trade a 10 out of 10. That's a very good trade. Close 50% at 10 pips, you're letting the rest run. That's pretty nice. That's pretty good. I only took one trade and it was a loss, but this was a pretty good trade. Whoever got in the sells, that was a pretty good trade. You know, I wanted to get in the sells. But at the same time, if I got in the sells, then I had to explain like why I got in the sells, you know, and at that point there was no explanation other than the fact that you could said, oh yeah, this is just gonna fall. US 30 analysis I've been waiting on all morning. Cool to see Ted mention something along these lines as well. Let's take a look here. Okay, yeah, that makes sense for price to, like, you know, maybe forming a liquidity wick to continue moving bullish. Alright, hey, is it possible we have a triple bottom at 135,500? Oh, a triple bottom. 1, 2, 3. And we are on a corrective wave from the first leg with a projected 100 pip move towards the upside available. Yes, it's available. If you ask for it, it's going to be available to you. So that triple bottom, it will only come true if we break above 136,400. Then you could say, okay, you know what? Now we're breaking above and now we're maybe heading towards 136,500. And after that, moving up and having your corrective move thing. That's when it's going to be available. But so far, price action is not agreeing with that. I mean, we have this candle closing in 18 minutes, this 30-minute candle. And if this 30-minute candle closes, I say like above this area, then like, you know, there may be still an opportunity for price to go up. But if it closes below this area, then obviously we're gonna start heading down. So this is a very important candle right over here. Oh, someone donated $2. How long will the sign up for intake remain open? Probably gonna just like making some changes and then it's gonna be open in like maybe a day or two. This is a perfect 30-minute fib for buy right here with 50, 100, 200 MA in golden zone. Okay, so we have the 50, the 100 and the 200 moving averages in a golden zone right now on GBJPY, and this is the perfect candle to take a buy based on a fib. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to watch it. I'm going to see if that really happens, and then I'm going to match it up with price action, and then we see, okay, does price action also make sense? So that's pretty interesting. So yeah, this candle's about to close. 15-minute candle's also about to close. USD CAD is still ranging. Euro JPY, ooh, Euro JPY broke out of that range. It broke out of that range and kept falling down. It's going to continue down over here. Let's take a look at this chart. This is a sell as price broke the low here. Stop loss to break even, wicks to the left, trailing my stops. It's pretty good. It's very nice. And we're waiting for the candle to close. So now can't take a sell at this point, because if I take a sell, the stop is going to be like, you know, like 15, like around like 17, 18 pips. So can't take a sell, can't take a buy because candles are bearish. So basically can't do anything right now. Nothing. You know. We got to be very calm about these trades now. Looking at gold. Gold is now starting to move up now. Let's just make this zone a little bit better. So we had like a support forming on a 30-minute, and now it looks like it's continuing up. Did you fix your statue? No, I didn't fix my statue. You know, even though my face fell off, I'm still holding the money bag. I still got the money bag.
Did the Sanan tsunami come through? Is that what happened?
No, I had it on the edge of my table right over here,
Okay.
and then I did boom, and then just fell down.
And Raja dies.
Yeah. Took an impulse entry when candle broke the low. Oh, nice. Kept on falling down. See your GPY. Okay, so 15-minute candle has closed. Wait, I would like to pull back to make a resistance to continue down, or see where the 30-minute candle closes here. Man, I can't believe that this wildfire has reached all the way to Vancouver.
Oh, it was bad.
I was looking at the pictures yesterday and I was like, holy shit, this smog is real.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Like you can smell it in the air.
Yes.
It's like a, oh wow, yeah, it's crazy.
It felt like end of days, like you know, like you're in those sci-fi movies where there's really no clear sky anymore. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, you seen Terminator 1?
Yeah, that's what it
Where,
felt like.
yeah, where they're in the park and sky
Yep.
turns. Yeah, okay. Damn.
That's exactly what it was. I was like, wait a second. But you know what's interesting is when you have that layer, the sun is hot, but the temperature is cool. So when you feel the sun on your body, it's really warm, but the actual temperature of the air is really cool. So it was almost like that year we had the eclipse during the middle of the day, and you can see the sun, but it was like, but the air temperature was really cool because the sun was being blocked. That's what it felt like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sun is being masked to end the world.
Yeah.
So the sun can't see the demise of the planet. Oh, gold 4-hour chart. Taking it by. That's an adventure, I would say. So basically you're expecting the 1 hour to close bullish, and then you're expecting the next 1 hour to continue bullish. The only problem we have is around 1974, 1975. Because as we look on the 1 hour and as price comes into that area, you've had some issues here and over here and over here. And then after that, you have clean roads to 1980s and then towards 1991. What's going on here in the gulag? This guy here is just commenting gay all over again. Like, are you deranged? Is this person mentally deranged? Wow, man. It's crazy. Crazy world we live in. Okay, so the 30-minute candle is about to close here. It's closing, man, if it closes above this area, this is still bullish. This isn't bearish on this time frame right here.
Yep. GJ's gonna take souls.
Yeah. Like this 1 hour candle, like if this 30-minute candle closes above this area, I think the next 30-minute can, if it continues bullish, the 1 hour candle can flip bullish. But we don't know when. Alright, what's this? UJPY. Took an entry when the 15-minute candle made a top wick right over here. Closed half when the 15-minute candle broke the high to let the rest run. How could have re-entered to win with more lots? I think a re-entry could have been when this candle was closing below, like this area over here. So maybe this could have been a re-entry with a stop above the previous 15-minute candle, anticipating for price to get to your pink zone here. Yeah, I think that could have been a really good idea. So now these things are going to happen over and over again, right? The beautiful thing about hindsight is that you can see things that you did not see, as it was playing out. So when you see it, you start to understand it, and then you start to make notes on it, right? Because these things are going to happen all over again. And maybe the next time it happens, you won't have the confidence to enter that trade. Maybe that happens. And if it happens a third time, maybe the third time you're also going to be saying, okay, yeah, what, I've seen it happen, but I may want to just sit back and just watch it. And maybe the fourth and the fifth time you start executing on it. So that's where the time is spent. So that's where they say, okay, you just got to be patient. You got to be patient for that same opportunity to happen again. It may happen, tomorrow. It may happen next week, or it may even happen next month. So if it happens next month, then that's your second time watching it happen. So you got to watch it happen 4 or 5 times. So at that point, it takes weeks. It takes weeks. It takes months. So that's why the longer time you spend on one pair, the better it is, because there's going to be more chances for you to see things all over again. I've seen everything in the gulag now. All that is left is someone coming and talking about their adventures with their. Okay. We're going to stop right there. When a candle breaks the high and the low of the previous candle, what comes to your mind when you see this candle? When it breaks the high and the low, that to me is like volatility. Volatility is like when you don't know where price is going to move. So it breaks the high, then it breaks the lows. And you're like, oh, okay. For a clean trend, like your high time frame candle, like the 1 hour or the 4 hour, should respect the highs and the lows if it's going to trend, right? That would mean that on the 15-minute, they're making structural highs and lows at the same time. But when it's breaking both the highs and the lows, that's just pretty crazy.
Raja, but would you say there's times where it can break both, but it still it may make sense to take an impulse entry? For example, if the low is broken in an uptrend, but it's respecting bullish structure, and then maybe the back half of that hour, it starts breaking the high, but it's that same candle that broke both high and low, it might make sense to enter.
Yeah,
like GN's doing it right now.
GN.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's take a look here. CBP, NCD. So we got the daily. Daily is trying to push up. We look on the 4 hour. 4 hours coming up to a resistance. Am I right? So what you're talking about is on the 1 hour? Or
30 minute.
30 minute. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I know. This makes sense then. This makes sense. Because you got the 1 hour candle here, and this 30-minute candle is about to close. So now you're basically counting on the fact that this 30-minute candle remains open. Because the longer, if it remains open, then you're like, okay, maybe the next 30 minute has a higher probability to continue moving bullish, which should overall move the 1 hour candle bullish. And then you can say, oh yeah, we had clean range here to the left hand side. Let's take a look on the 15 minute. Yeah, 15 minutes also pretty good. Yeah, so let's say if this trade was taken based on a 30 minute and the stop was down over here, it got stopped out, then maybe with this 15-minute candle closing like a strong bullish, maybe that could be giving the trade a second chance. Ooh, Siva Sengatuan. Sengatuan. Raja, you changed my life. My life. Thank you. Thank you, Raja. I'm from Siva, India. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Mr. Siva donated 100 rupees. Ooh, your JPY is just continuing bearish over here. I took one trade and that was a loss today. Crazy. Looks like it's going to continue moving down. Probably going to fill this daily wick and then continue further on. GPJPY is also moving further bearish down. What are you looking for now, buys or sells? Right now, I'm not looking at anything, basically, because price is coming down. There was no confirmations for me to enter a trade, so I'm not in a trade. I mean, I still got like around half an hour left till I'm going to be here on the charts, and if I see some sort of a retracement or some sort of a minor resistance forming, then I'm going to be looking for sells for price to continue bearish on GPJPY. But if I don't see that happening, then I don't see a need for me to enter a trade if I don't see that happening, right? So, when things are falling, when things are really moving and you're not in the trade, it's really important for you to just stay calm. Just be like, okay, you know what, let it move. That's fine, let it move. Next time we're gonna get it. So, yeah, just gonna wait. Could I get your opinion on this trade? Alright, let's take a look here. This is, your JPY. If price can break the strong support, I would sell till 125. But, there's no buts. There's no buts. When you're making a decision, there's no buts. You're like, okay, I'm going to make a decision and I'm going to, honor that and I'm going to just do it. Whenever you say but is like introducing doubt in your mind, right? Like, let's say that this candle closes bearish, and on the 15-minute, you see some sort of a retracement and like a minor resistance forming, and then you're like, okay, you know what? I see the signs over here. I see the signs. It should start moving down. I see the signs on the 30-minute that should start moving down. But, and the moment you say but, then you're like, yeah, I don't know. Now you've introduced doubt. Now you've introduced doubt in your trade. Like a lot of people do that. Like a lot of times you're going to see amazing setups. You're going to see amazing analysis, and you're going to know that, okay, you know what? I have to enter right now, but the moment you say but, man, you missed the trade. You introduce doubt, and you just can't execute at that point. So when you see a trade, be a robot, execute, place your stops, and then manage the risk. That's it. If you're going to take a loss, okay, here's the thing, man. Like, listen, people are going to take the loss regardless of how you trade, regardless of whatever courses you buy or signals you take or whatever the case may be. Most of your trades are going to be losses. That's a fact. So you got to start working on how to reduce those losses, right? Stop worrying about how to make more money, man. Start worrying about how to reduce those losses. Because the more you can reduce your losses, like, better you're going to be. Like, if you reduce your losses, your discipline is going to get better. You're going to get more consistent. You're going to be excited about reducing losses, managing risk. So, and if you don't do that, man, it's going to be a very long, lonely road. GJ pushed a bit too far already. I'm also going to call it a day. No trade for today. See you guys tomorrow. See you, Anthony Hernandez. We have a chart coming in. This chart is your JPY. I want this 30-minute to close below the support. We'll watch for new resistance to form before taking shorts. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good idea there, Eleanor. I agree with that. Because once it's just free falling like this, it's really hard to execute a trade, because the worst that can happen to you is that price breaks down a little bit more with this candle. You take a sell, price breaks down more, and then starts retracing. You're like, oh man, so those are risky trades, extremely risky trades. Can you talk about market fluidity changes you mentioned yesterday on your IG page? Yes, it said that the updates are going to be posted. So I'm waiting for Raja Banks to write them down so I can post it. Why I am 6 minutes ahead of what is happening on your guys' charts. You are in the future, my friend. This is Nuggets. Watching streams help me reduce losses. Okay. Um, have you ever tried swing trading? No, I have not tried. Yeah, I have tried swing trading. And it doesn't really work for me. What I notice is that my position goes in profits and then it comes down and hits my stop loss. And then every morning when I woke up, and sometimes I take some swing trades and I'm like, man, I could have just secured positions here and closed that, break even and stuff like that. So okay, 8:30, we have candles closing, your JPY is closing above support. 1 hour is also at that area over there. Gold is whatever. The candle closed bearish on GN as well. Buys are not really there anymore. GJ candle is closing bearish. If I can see a bullish candle here forming, I think that's going to give me some more confidence for price to continue moving down. I don't want to sell this candle and have my stop over here. Expect it to come down here. But if I see a bullish candle and then if I see like a resistance forming, I think that's going to give me like a lot more confirmation that we can go down. So it's about confidence. Selling here, I wouldn't be too confident because I know, we have the 3 green. What are they called? The 3 green crows? No, black crows. Black crows, right? Whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
Black soldiers.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So maybe this 4th one may kind of like stop over here, have like a cup of tea or whatever, and then we can have more soldiers coming down. 1 hour doesn't have a wick at the top, meaning there is no buying, or is it going to make a wick there? Well, there's no buying either way. Candles are bearish, so I mean there's no buying at this point. If God forbid this candle goes up, then someone can say, "Oh yeah, see, I told you it was a buy." I mean, at that point, I have nothing to say at that point, because there's no confirmation.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times too, people have to realize is, there's going to be moves in the market that we're just not able to catch. Like it just happens and you're not able to catch that. So you shouldn't be that hard on yourself that you weren't able to catch those magical moves up or magical moves down. There's just some instances where you're not able to do that. We're not the institutions. We don't know 100% of the market. So don't push yourself over the edge because, suddenly GJ rockets up or rockets down and you miss the move. It's like, there's going to be instances where you're going to miss moves all the time. You have to get used to that in the markets, missing moves. Just honestly get used to it. It's not that big of a deal. The market's not closing today. Like today's not the last day to trade. So don't really worry about that aspect of it. Worry about the fact that, if you missed an idea when you saw the setup that you normally look for. If you missed those kind of trades, then that's different than missing a trade that was impulsive or, it just did something out of the ordinary that you're not used to seeing. Don't get mad at those trades. Get mad at trades where you plan to execute. And then like Raja said, you used the word but, and then you didn't do it. And then you watch the trade move. And now you're like, oh man, I just missed all this. And it's like, well, you missed it because you didn't want to execute on your own plan. Don't worry about the things that happen randomly that nobody can predict. And that happens a lot of the time. So really don't get so flustered about that. Worry about the simple ideas that that you've practiced and just wait for those ideas to pop up. Because like Raja said, if it's happened once, it'll happen again. And as you train your eyes to see more opportunities, you'll be able to take different ideas and be a little bit more courageous with your trading and still manage your risk, because you'll be like, oh, I've seen this idea happen, countless times. it'll probably work out in my favor, and that's something you can add as you gain experience. When you're first starting out trading, maybe you just want to just manage your trades accordingly and not go too wild. But as you get more comfortable, it's like driving a car, right? You first start driving, you're driving the speed limit always, you're checking all your mirrors, you're watching yourself. As you get more comfortable, suddenly you're like, well, I can go 10 or 15 kilometers over the speed limit. It's not going to hurt me. I know that this is an open road. I know what my car can do. I know how to brake the car properly so that, I don't crash, things of that nature. So I'm not risking too much to go 10 kilometers over the speed limit at that point. But, when you first start driving, you're a little paranoid, right? I see guys that are riding motorbikes that are doing like 170 kilometers on the highway, and I sort of freak out because I'm like, wow, like, how do you trust yourself that much? But they're used to riding their bike at 170 kilometers an hour. So, it is what it is, right?
Oh yeah, they just go sometimes. You're like,
Like,
whoa.
I know. Like, I watch my car, I'm like doing like 160, 170, and I see a bike pass me, I'm like, holy cow.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I think at that point, like the guy driving the bike is like, oh yeah, you're going fast. All right, let me show you,
Yeah.
buddy. Good Trader commented, can you break down your $2,600 trade? Well, Good Trader, if you were that good, you would have taken my entries and exits, and you would have plotted on the chart, and you would have known exactly why it was taken. But since you cannot do that, so I guess you got to change your name from Good Trader to Developing Trader, probably.
Yes. You scared me out of a daily and weekly time frame on gold. I closed my buys at break even. Well, right now you can see gold is pretty much ranging, so I don't know how much more you would have gotten or not gotten out of those trades. So something to be maybe something to be said there if you were worried about those ideas. A lot of times people talk about that and they say, I was following somebody else or I was copying somebody else. Like, don't do that to yourself. Follow your own analysis. You are the only one in charge of your money. Keep that in mind. Nobody else is.
Form resistance on his zone to continue bearish. Yeah, that's what I'm actually waiting for here. I was waiting for some sort of like a minor resistance forming here for price to continue bearish. But I'm also accepting the fact that that resistance may not form and price would just move down. That's it. That could also happen as well. Man, yesterday I received this neon sign. Funny thing is, I ordered a neon sign, right? I ordered a neon sign, and it's on its way. I called those guys yesterday. It's on its way. So I get this thing. I'm like, oh, nice, my neon sign arrived, but it was too big. And then I open it, and it says, "You are my dream." No, you are my life. Or yeah, it said, "You are my life," and I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't what I ordered. So I looked at the invoice. So I paid like around $800, So that invoice said like $100. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, $100? I'm like, when did I order this? So I go through my emails and there's nothing over there. And then remember someone told me something that I might get an accessory, so I'm forgetting the name of that person. But yeah, it was pretty weird.
Hey, Rakeel, how big is your sign that you ordered? That's 800.
Oh, that's it's around 6 feet. 6 feet long and around 3 feet like wide. So 6 feet long, 3 feet wide. So it's gonna go on that wall right over there, right behind me.
Oh, nice. 6
Yeah.
feet?
Yeah, it's gonna go right next to that lovely lady who has her lips right behind me over there. It's gonna go right next to her.
Yeah, I was looking to get one for my girl too, bro. It's like 700, 800 bucks.
Oh, just take the one I have. It says "You are my life." It's perfect.
Now I'm trying to make a custom one too, for her studio.
No, bro, that's custom one. Take it and be like, hey, put this up in your room. It comes with a remote. You can do a lot of stuff with it. You can change it to pink,
you want me to
purple,
come pick
red,
it up?
green. Yeah, come pick it up.
All right, no problem, brother.
Yeah, like I put that thing in the box and put it in my garage. I'm like, I don't need that. Came direct from China too. Direct from China. DHL.
I told you it was the leg lamp from Christmas Story.
Man.
Yeah.
Raja was excited. He unboxed. He's like, "What the hell's this?"
Yeah. I'm like, what is it? My wife is watching this too, and she's like, who sent this? You are my life.
I'm pretty sure the manufacturer messed up.
I don't know. No, these guys are based on from Montreal, so I called them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I called them. I'm like, hey, did you guys send me a neon sign? They're like, no, we're about to send you one tomorrow. I'm like, okay. Wow, this thing is going to continue moving bearish over here.
Yeah. If you saw US30 broke out as well. So people that were watching that, we had a nice breakout with US30. And then obviously with GJ, what we said was going to happen is happening. It rejected that area going down to that zone. So yeah, a couple nice trades today.
850 is coming in.
Gold is still ranging though, but GJ was good sell.
Someone's saying, who took the buy on that fib and profited with me? All golden zones are gone out the window at this point.
Yeah,
See,
it's one of those things. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. That's why it's important to at least wait for the candle to close. I mean, if this was a bullish candle close, even a small one, it would be like, okay, yeah, you know what, go try. But everything was bearish, so that was just a very bad try.
Yeah, I think GJ now you have the way GJ's falling. I think obviously we first stop is going to be 135, 880 around there, and then eventually down to 135, 500 or 560. So.
What's this? Oh, nice trade. You entered over here, your price is coming down, you're looking for further down if it breaks below. Beautiful. Beautiful. Hey, Wicks don't lie. Did you wake up at London Open to take a trade the 26th? No, I took it at like around like 12:30 before the 4-hour candle closed. Like around, 12:30 a.m. something like that. Coming downtown. The best thing is going to be if it just drops down till here, and around 10 a.m. or 9:45, like in an hour, it just starts to retrace to create a resistance and then just plummets all the way down to 135, 500.
Yeah, I think if you're in and on this 30-minute candle, I think for the most part we should be good down to that zone. It should drop. There's a little bit of traffic as we come to that zone, but if you're in it already, obviously, once again, if you're planning this trade, your first attempt or your first take profit point was that wick fill, and now at this point, technically speaking, this should be your stop loss right here. You should have entered right over here. This would have been your original stop loss up over here, and now you're letting it run. It may pull back once again, but I think we're going to tap this zone here probably within the next couple of minutes. I would say closer to the 8:50 time frame, so that this is we're coming close to the end of the 15-minute candle, so you're going to get a little bit of a push, and then the next 15-minute candle could pull back a bit. So if you're looking to take profits, watch your candle timing. So maybe watch it towards 8:44. So watch your minute time frames now, see how the minutes are forming, and you might be able to get out with a great exit before the next 15-minute candle potentially rips further up. And that candle may rip up over into back into this zone here and then start to drop again. So if you're looking to get out of this trade and you're just happy with this current candle here, take the exit in the next minute or so. If not, you might find the next set of candles may rip up a bit. So you might find that you get another wick up and then a push. So just keep that in mind as you're trading, GJ. So really manage your trade accordingly. Don't be afraid to take profits at this point, not getting right down to here, because you still have a little bit of traffic here, over here, and over here. So this might be just a little bit of a good exit for you on your original position. And if you have another position open, you can then let that one run potentially further down at that point. But just obviously manage your stops. Don't take a loss. I guess that's the better word. Don't take a loss at this point because of your greed. Technically speaking, like I said earlier, this here was your trade. You filled this wick in momentum. You got a little bit extra. We're heading down to this area here, but your risk to reward was intact. I think that's the big thing. You had a positive process with the trade, so your risk to reward was actually really good. So keep that in mind and keep repeating those ideas. I know that people who have small accounts want to hold this trade, and they want to say, well, you know, Ted, you're telling me that we're going all the way down, and I want to hold that trade. You have to understand that these kind of opportunities here, these are your bread and butters. This is like your golden opportunity. You have like such a small risk with this wick, but then you had such a great reward. You can keep doing this over 10, 20, 30, 40 times over the month and have consistent, nice gains. And you're able to keep repeating that process. Whereas we've seen a lot of times this candle now, as it approaches this area here, just rips right back up and you've lost all that potential gain. So really keep that in mind as you're trading. And like I said, if you are concerned about holding a trade, open up 2 trades, let one close, give yourself profit, and then you can let this one run right down to this zone here and then evaluate at that point. But don't ever give back profits to the market. It's a silly thing, especially when you have a easy opportunity like this. Don't do that to yourself. It's not worth it. You're just going to mess yourself up mentally.
Oh wow, look at that. It's coming right down. Coming straight down towards 135.850. Didn't take a trade over here at all. I mean, no.
So the new 15-minute candle. So we're actually in a good spot now. The new 15-minute candle created the wick. So watch this 15-minute candle reaction as it comes right here. You might find it just creates an indecision candle at this point because we're coming close to the hour close. So you might get an instant tap here and then a pullback for the hour close. This pullback here will then start the next hour candle to continue to drive down, if that indeed is going to be the case. And we're going to break down into this area here. So keep that in mind.
What is a gladiator candle? That's just a made-up name we made. You told me not to die. You told me not to doubt myself, so thank you for that. Successful trade on EJ. Oh, very nice. EJ continued dropping over here. 9 pips, 10 pips. GG's also filled this entire range of like 30 pips. Wow. Good job, GJ. This is nice to see it run over here. So if this was me, like, let's say 3 years ago, I'd be having intense FOMO at this point. I'd be like, oh man, FOMO, I should have been in this trade. But right now, I'm just like, okay, that's fine. That's okay. Because these moves, we've seen these happen like a lot of times, over and over again. Let's take a look at this chart here. This is, oh, nice. Full closed. Beautiful. We may get a pullback and may see a resistance forming on small time frame as 4 hour is closing. Also, it will make a lower high. That is true. That is absolutely true. That as the 4 hour candle comes to a close, it may retrace and the next one may come up to make a top wick to continue down. And I think that top wick is going to be the retracement on the small time frames.
Yeah, so you can see how we're starting to react around this zone. So if Raja goes back to the 30-minute or 15-minute candle, you'll see what we were talking about. So it is exactly what we talked about just 10 seconds ago is happening. You have a little bit of a reaction around here. So this is where you as a trader have to make a decision. This candle could pull up a little bit more. So you may want to take profit at this point, or if you're now managing your higher time frame confluence, you can say, okay, the next hour could jump up and then continue further down. So this is where you start to think, okay, I can move my stop now to this 15-minute right here. I hope that it holds and the next 15-minute candle maybe forms over here and then continues to go back. Or yes, I'm happy with this profit because we reached this target. We went from this area here down to here. I'm okay with that. I can enjoy the rest of my day. So this is where you can make decisions and you can then say to yourself, okay, this could be a good long-term trade and I can turn this now into a swing trade, right? If I took an entry in over here as a sell, I can start looking now to say if this level holds and starts to break down further, I can start moving my stop, and now this trade from here to here could now turn into a swing trade down to here and then eventually still further down if we do break the 500 level at that point. So it's something to keep in mind as you're trading this pair. That's how you turn your scalp trades into swing trades. The other advantage too is if you had a couple of positions open, you closed your other positions in profit now for your original targets, and now you can let your second trade or your third trade run, and that's how you'll build your account because you've used your profits from your first couple of trades to secure now your risk with regards to holding this as a swing trade and letting this move further down. And if it stops you out, if you get stopped out, if this candle wicks up and stops you out, you're okay because you already secured wins on those candles there, and this is now just gravy. And sometimes this trade will just drive right down, and you get extra money for free. Other times it'll just hold here and reject, and it'll stop you out. That's part of trading. You got to get used to that as well.
All right, let's take a look at this chart over here. This chart is sent in the gulag. Oh, okay. What are you looking at over here? I really wish I never opened this chart over here. Such pointless. This is just, why would someone send a chart where they have a winning trade and just like nothing on it? This helps nobody. What you should be doing is you should be saying that, okay, since there's someone like me, let's say, who missed these sells, so what I'm looking at is for price to maybe come up to create like a minor resistance, and that push up on a structural level, like on the small time frame, could be a wick formation on the 4-hour to continue pushing down. That's what we should be looking at, or that's what we should be talking about. Not sending a chart, oh yeah, look guys, I won the trade. I mean, that's good, it's perfect, But whatever information, okay, so like here's my goal, right? Whatever information I show, my whole idea behind showing that information is to maybe provide some sort of value, Like maybe someone can learn something, or maybe I can learn something. Like this morning I learned something too. That impulse entries are risky, right? Impulse entry taken over here at a loss. So is it a good idea to wait for the next 15-minute candle to retrace and then take a sell? Yes, I would say that would be a better idea. Yeah. Let's take a look at this chart over here. This is, ooh, nice, GJ, 5-minute. Major consolidation pre-New York. Impulse entry as 15-minute broke the low. Broke open the NY session right over here. Nice, this is a good trade. See now, this is a good chart over here. Not only that's a winning trade, but also there are labeling over here too, so we know exactly what's going on. So this is something we can learn from. So the previous chart was just garbage. It was just like a winning trade with no labeling on it. GJ should most likely continue down since it broke the nightly nightly bullish run. However, it could also be retracing for liquidity. We will know at 9:30 what will most likely happen throughout the day. I honestly think what's going to happen is that I think we should come up to create like some sort of a minor resistance. Come down to retest a low wherever the low it's going to make. Maybe it's going to make a low over here, or over here, or over here. Wherever the low is going to be made, it's going to retrace, and it's going to come down to retest the low. That retest of the low is the trade I'm going to be looking for. You know, so that it comes down to retest the low, and then it has opportunity to drop further more down, you know, if it's really going bearish. So that's something I'm really, really waiting for. Because whenever price is moving, whenever I wake up in a New York session at times, you know, at times when you come to a New York session and you see that London is just dropping or London is just moving up, so you know that, okay, if it's just moving up or if it's just dropping, it's making a low or it's making a high, you know, and whenever it's making a low or high, then you know, okay, like, you know what, there's going to be high probability it's going to retest that higher or low. So that's something I get excited about. Let's take a look at your JPY here too, right? Your JPY coming down, just dropping. Eventually it's going to make a low somewhere, and then it's going to retrace, and then you're going to have an opportunity for price to come down to retest the low. And that's where the real waiting is, you know, like some guys are going to say, okay, yeah, you know what, we're going to try to take a buy over here because there's a, I mean, no, man, I mean, sometimes those trades can work, but then most times it's just, they're just bad trades. You know, even though they look good on the gram where you take a wick entry, but realistically, it's just, that's just bad trading habits. Why is Ted Illuminati DP on IG? Because he signed the papers. We've lost him now.
Yes, somebody made a comment that I changed that because I wanted to change my image. It was more so the fact that I want people to be more awake of what's going on in the world and question things. That was the only reason I did that. I think it's time now to start using influence to make sure people start questioning what's going on, so that they can, you know, be aware and not take things so just not doing anything, right?
But you'll get shut down at that point, man.
That's okay.
Yeah, you'll get shadow banned.
I have been a lot.
And then after the shadow ban, they're like, oh yeah, it's another Jeevan over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to make people aware because like the medium we use, it's all like control. There's so much control on those mediums.
Yeah. I just want people to be more aware of what's going on around them, and to question things. I mean, now I was on the plane the other day, and they're telling me what kind of mask I can wear. They literally, if you don't have the right mask, they tell you to take it off, and they give you one now. So, and I asked them, I said, who made this rule up? Nobody can answer.
So, like, you can't wear your regular cotton mask?
Yeah, well, no, there's certain styles. So you can't wear a mask that has a vent on it, or you can't wear a whatchamacallit, like a regular face covering anymore, or a scarf.
Oh, okay. So no more scarves then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, basically they want you to use the N95 mask.
Yeah, you can't use that mask anymore. Like the double vents, you're not allowed to use those masks on a plane.
No more looking like Bane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I asked them at the check-in, I mean, I was like, why is that like, who made this rule up? Nobody could answer me. And I mean, I find that's pretty poor. Because like, how did it change from 1 month to the next? Like now all of a sudden you're telling us what mask I can wear. It's like, if I'm covering my face, I'm covering my face. Like, you know, so.
Yeah, I don't know, man. We're moving in some very sticky situations here now.
Yep.
It's starting to get cold outside, and people are gonna start to get flus and sneezes.
Yeah.
And God damn. Damn, like yesterday we were at the playground and there was this kid and he had this runny nose and
Uh-oh.
I heard this mom say, "Oh, we gotta go, honey. That kid has a runny nose." And I'm like, "Whoa, what?" Like I just heard her, you know? I heard her. I'm like, "Whoa, okay, it's getting
Oh
serious
my.
now."
Uh,
Yeah, man.
it's just very interesting times that we live in. I mean, I won't we won't talk about the theories behind this, but I mean, it's like things are real, but the way we're handling it isn't real. So let's put it that way.
If 1 hour closes with no wick at the top or bottom, what can we expect with GJ? Well, it didn't. So now what? Now your question is invalid. So you just wasted your time just writing a pointless question, right? It didn't do that. So we only talk about when things happen. We look at the 15 minute. I'm sorry if that sounded rude, but I mean, it just didn't make any sense. If we look at the 15 minute close with a wick, 30-minute close with a wick, basically, I would want to see some sort of a retracement here, resistance forming, and then continue down. I think I might see that while I'm at the gym, right? In like 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
Yeah, so this is what we were talking about earlier. The 9 o'clock candle was going to pull back. So this is where you have a pullback, but then this is where what you can do is you can start to set entries potentially over here, and then your stop will be above wherever this wick finishes at that point. And you'd say, okay, perfect. I can start to manage my trade and watch it drop. And then this is your next level here. And you can get better entries in this area here by keeping this time frame open and then moving to your 15-minute and your 5-minute and watching how those candles form. Because once you start to see this style candle here turn into something like this, then you start to know that, hey, the next stage of that candle is going to be this. But the great thing is I'm not in a trade right now. If I'm looking to take sells, I didn't take a market order here and now riding a retracement up. What I'm doing is I'm waiting for it to come over to here and a wick to be formed in this candle here. That's the way that you would manage it. And if you're in the trade right now from a sell from over here, remember what we talked about earlier, that this would have been your profit taking point. But now, because this wick is pulling back, and if your stop loss is over here, you have to accept the fact that this candle could stop you out, and now your profit's only this much here. And this is something that happens on a regular basis with GJ, because you can see all the candles essentially have wicks. There's always been wicks with GJ, right? Like you look at GJ, there's always a wick. So knowing that, we can anticipate this information on the new hour candle forming and watching on the smaller time frames on how those candles pull back. And this is something that as you become more seasoned as a trader, you start to see that right away. And you're able to say, okay, perfect, I'm going to exit the trade here before the new hour candle starts because we had a bit of a retracement and I know we're going to probably pull back up. And of course, there are instances where this candle just continues to plummet, but the majority of times you always have a bit of a pullback in those instances, and then these new candles start. It's just the way the market moves at that point.
My son is in the army and they're trained to stay 6 feet apart so they can be tracked. Otherwise, 2 soldiers are 1 blob. Think about our distancing experiment and think about that shot.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
And I've never heard that, but that's really interesting, actually.
What about a sell stop at the break of the previous 30-minute? You know what? I would want to see, because this is the start of the 4-hour candle, right? And we don't know how far this 4-hour candle is going to come up before coming down. So I would want to see a market structure creating like a resistance and then anticipating price to break this and go down. So I think this should be the target. 135, 500 should be the target while I'm doing my last exercise of chest today. Like around 10:30. By London close, we should come down over there.
I think you do have a good opportunity there. I mean, and this is the other thing too. If you're in GJ right now and you're looking at what GJ is doing, if we go into the daily structure, you'll see now the daily structure has gotten a little bit more confirmation in terms of how the market is going to move. And there's a high probability that we're going to drop more to the 500s than we are going to go back up to 136 at this point.
Yeah, I agree. For me, buys on GJ are already, done. The 4-hour candle closed heavy bearish on GJ, so most likely we're gonna retest the 135 500s and so on,
Yeah.
even deeper.
Yeah, and then you can see now the weekly wick is now forming,
Yeah,
and it's starting. If this weekly candle flips bearish,
it's a scary
then
though.
yeah, then you can see us going all the way down to like 134.
Yes, it's a scary to be honest.
So that's something to keep in mind. So you can see it takes a couple of days now on the daily candles for us to start to drop, but now Raja has it up. The daily zone we can talk about when we talked about this earlier. This is your daily zone now. So you can see from the daily zone that the wicks now, these ones were the same, but this one got a little bit shorter. So tomorrow there could be potentially one more candle that dips up, and then that starts to drive all the way down. If this candle here doesn't do it, like today's candle doesn't do it, tomorrow or Thursday's candle will do it. So what I'd be watching for from a trade perspective, if I didn't catch a sell today, I'd mark out this zone on my daily, and I would say to myself, okay, tomorrow, if a candle forms, so wherever this current daily candle finishes, the next daily candle, wherever that forms, if it comes out of this zone, so if I have a candle that starts here and then starts to drop, then I know that this zone, we're leaving this zone, and that now we're starting to go further down. So that's what I'd be looking for. If I didn't catch any trades today with GJ, and I normally trade GJ, I will now look at how tomorrow's daily candle starts and where it's going to pull up. If it doesn't pull up right into that zone and it pulls up below that zone and starts to drop, then I have more confluence to say that we're going to continue dropping, and then potentially to 135 200, or wherever this daily candle finishes, we'll probably drop further to that. That's how you would probably manage this if you missed today's trade, and you're looking for tomorrow. So tomorrow's perspective, like I said, you map out your zone. This is your zone right here. You say to yourself, okay, perfect. If I don't have a candle that moves up into that zone, so once again, if I don't have anything over here, like if my candle comes back up in here, then I have to wait for the drop again. So I'm anywhere in this zone here, I don't really want to work in. But if my candle forms out of the zone and it starts to form that, this sort of setup, then my next step is the candle. Then it actually just starts to drop at that point, and then I can start taking sells at that point, because my higher time frames will add up. The confluence will add up there. So that's what I'll be waiting for tomorrow as well. I'm already in a sell with GJ based on my analysis. My stop loss is in profit. I'm hoping that we'll continue to drop. I got in at 136, 142. So now I'll wait for it to see if we can get the 135, 565. That's sort of my target, to be honest.
Perfect. Yeah, we can get down there. Let's take a look at this last chart, and then I'm gonna head out. This is stop loss hit at BE. Close 50% at 10 pips. That's stop loss at BE. This hit your stop loss at BE. Okay. I feel my profit at BE I feel my profit at break even for 1 month, because it looks my losses are bigger than my winners. First trade, it was a loss using 2% risk, 0.19. Second, it was a win using 2% risk, 0.8. So 0.8 is bigger than 0.19, right? Yeah. So this means your losses are smaller than your winners, which is the way it should be. All right, so I'm gonna head off here, and tomorrow is going to be a great day. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, okay, yeah, tomorrow's gonna be a great day. Looks like interest rates are going to be on Thursday as well, so we're going to be able to witness them unless they move them at 2 a.m. Oh, it was 0.08. Right away, it was 0.08. I think with 2% risk, you should really look into using how you could have, like, maybe reduced risk. Because reducing risk is really important. I mean, if you're risking 2%, there's no way you should be actually losing at 2% or closing at 2%. So you got to look at that. Like, I had a trade over here on GJ. I had a GJ buy earlier in the morning over here, and I was expecting price to continue bullish right at this point here with this 30-minute candle at 6:30 a.m. And once this 15-minute candle closed bearish, I closed 50%. You know, and then once this candle started breaking the low, I closed 50%, and then I closed my entire trade. So you should really start to look at how you could have, reduced your loss. Because if you can reduce your losses, man, that's the only thing that matters. Because if your wins are going to stay the same, and if you reduce losses, then things are going to get better. There's some webinars in the database you can watch. Would you look for retracement or resistance formed in this area? Both. Maybe a move up and then a continuation down slowly. So yeah, take care, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow morning. And listen, if you've taken a loss, just don't overtrade. And
Yeah, but take care, Raja.
yeah, take care, man.
Have your pet spayed or neutered.
Have a good day, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Shukriya, shukriya.
Shukriya, Irvani.
Oh, new word.